I've got a question here. This is from Teresa, and Teresa says, I always hear people say that to succeed in the business, you have to be good in a room. But what does that truly mean? Do you need to be nice? What should you wear?
This is a great follow-up question to our last question in a lot of ways. What does good in a room mean? Good in a room, well, number one, it means don't be an asshole. And I mean that. And that might seem glib as well, but I'm going to come back to that with a story that just happened this week. But the big way you can be good in a room is information and knowledge. And what I mean by that is I have a meeting this coming Monday on a script of mine. All right. It was originally supposed to be with a development executive of a production company. What it's turned out to be is with three different people: the development executive of the company, the CE, and an SVP, a senior vice president. I've already done more research on these three people, their careers, what they've accomplished, what they set out to do, where they landed, where they worked previously, everything. Okay, because I want to be able to go into that room and be able to talk to them about them. I don't want everything to be about me. I want them to see that I am a communicator, that I am thoughtful enough to be interested in what they do and how they do it. And then I've done all this research into the company to understand why they're interested in this project and where it fits in, and so on and so forth, what their mission is, what their CEO is looking to do. I've read every article. So I am completely confident about this meeting. I'm well prepared. The other thing is course knowledge. You have to know how the business operates. A lot of questions that we get here, okay, are very, very basic. And I get that people are breaking into the business, so they have basic questions. But here's what I would say to you, okay? It's totally fine that you ask those questions, but ask yourself, wouldn't it be better if you took the time to put those questions, especially the ones that seem basic, into the Google machine, as we like to call it, or as my mother would say, wouldn't it be better to Google's it, and get those questions answered so that you eliminate the idea that people know that you're very, very new to the business and you're able to speak from a place of knowledge, right? If I don't know something, I Google it. I at least get a rudimentary understanding of what's going on, new distribution model, whatever the hell it is. And then I usually go to people I know that I could trust if I have more questions, so that I have a knowledge base before I get into that room. You want people to feel like you've been there and that you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? That matters, all right? You're not going to get crushed for it if you're a first-time writer or you're, a first-time filmmaker, but you should know. You should know how things work. It's important that you know how things work. Even if you don't want to produce, you should understand what a producer is looking for, because a producer is going to ask you as a writer to do things. A filmmaker is going to ask you to do things, to change things, okay? Which brings me back to not being an asshole. Seems basic, seems obvious. It's more nuanced than even the way I'm putting it, all right? But I'll just tell you a really quick story. Earlier this week, and this happens more often than you might think, I got a DM on Stage 32 from a writer who had submitted a screenplay for coverage through Stage 32 with an executive I'm not going to name, but a very prestigious executive in the business, and one that I have to say, she's very tough when it comes to critiquing writing. And she gave this writer a double recommend, which, if you know anything about coverage with Stage 32, I'd say less than 1% of, maybe even less than that, maybe 0.5% of screenplays get a double recommend. And from her, I'm assuming that it's even, the odds are even greater that, or harder, whatever, higher, lower to get it. So he felt great. She wanted to have a meeting with him. And she had the meeting with him, and a couple of days went by, and he wrote me and he said, I think your site's bullshit. I think you give out these double recommends. By the way, she pulled in 2 other people into our meeting as well, SVPs, and I think actually the head of production. And he said, I think you're just giving out these double recommends so that, people get meetings and then they want to do more of it and everything like that. Okay, first thing is, I'm sorry, but this executive and the president of the company and the vice president are not wasting 3 man hours collectively to meet with you because of some sort of ridiculous money grab. They want to make movies. That's what they're here to do. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing, you're tipping to me that you don't know any idea how this business works. Third, I have alarm bells going off in my head that you probably screwed up in the room. So I was curious. So I went to this executive and I said, what happened? And she was like, we love this script. We were all ready to option it. This guy came in, all ego, wouldn't listen to a suggestion, talked over us, interrupted us constantly, and we all just went, nope. Like, as much as we like the material, we do not want to work with that writer. We don't want to work with him. Okay? That's the deal. That's knowing you got to know. Okay? I'm prepared to go into this meeting on Monday, like I said, ready for anything. Okay, the content, obviously, the script got me into the room. They must like it enough. But if they come to me and they say, you know, that one character, what if we do this with that character? I'm going to be like, all right, let's talk through that. I'm not going to be like, wait, out of your mind? Are you crazy? What, are you nuts? I'm like, let's talk through that. Let's talk through the positives and the negatives of doing that. And you be open, right? So all I'm saying to you is that being good in the room isn't just dressing nice and dressing the part, or, you know, even sitting on your hands and being quiet. That's not being good in the room either. You know, you want to come in from a place of complete knowledge, a place of complete control, and with an openness of collaboration, and to show that you have that collaborative spirit. And I guarantee you, you do that. If you got in the room and you act like that, you'll win the room. I promise you that. I promise you that. Even if it's not for that project, you'll have an open door for every other project and every other thing going on. They'll remember you for assignments, all of it. Okay. But again, know who you're talking to, know what they do, understand the business, even at a rudimentary level. Okay. And don't be an asshole.